Flight boss, bitch, for sure. Listen to the Mind of an Terry's Moon, flight boss to Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now I want to talk about Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. Now before we break down Friday, we got to break down 13. Now, things get a little crazy when we mixing things together because that becomes a ritual. That becomes a spell. And then when you got that outplanned on the whole world, if one intellectual being know what they're doing and then the whole world don't know what they're doing, then guess who's the source and guess who's the resource? The person who knows what they're doing is the source, and everybody who don't know what they're doing is the resources. And they're left amongst arguing amongst each other what's actually going on with the source and who's what, when, and where who's the goddamn source, to the point that everybody who's the resource is goddamn lost. So for the most part, let's get this shit down so we can understand this clearly, soul group. Friday the 13th. Now, check this out. Archangel Uriel gonna break this down. Now, let's talk about 13. First of all, what you need to understand that death and life, birth, reborn, is nothing but transformation. Right? So, anytime you hear something being added on, or something becoming, or, something being added on, that lets you know that's a form of death. So, anytime something's being added, is being brought down because it wasn't at its previous state. And when we know something is being added, the more water you add to a bucket, the more heavier it is. So we know the more something is added to something, the more dense it's going to be, the more into density is going to be brought down. So you have to look at this from a metaphysical, spiritual nature and understand this is how things going on in that realm also. And how spirits create shapes and forms. You know what I'm saying? Out of their frequency vibration to carry energy. So when we talk about 13, right? Now, 13, when you look at 12, 12 is a system of 3. Now, the realm of reality we are in right now, this is why things happen in 3s. Because we are in a frequency of 3. So the controller of the frequency of this 3 is the 0 spectrum. And then the space is the spirit. Coming out of that, becoming an individual, which is a soul, your first light body that your spirit go into to experience itself and be aware of itself. You become the 1, and then you have to search for a womb, which is the 2, and then you can become out in that world, which is the 3D. Now, the 3D has 3 levels to it. So, since you did that aspect to be here in the small form you are in right now, you have the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension that you have to do in that same kind of process, and that would be an oversoul planet sun. Then you have the 7th, 8th, 9th dimension that you have to do the same thing as a process, and that would be like the same thing. It would be like a solar system, galaxy, universe. So for the most part, it's the 1, 2, 3. Now we're in this frequency. Now we're up under a hierarchy that already have done that before us because we're within that being. So this is where you get the concept of 12. Because that's the 1, 2, 3 that did it before us. So when you're looking at numbers, it's really from the top down. Really 9 come first, but but all that 0 through 9 was done first, which from our perspective will be what we perceive as 12. But 12 is just really what we're calculating as 10, 11, 12, but it's really how we're measuring the wideness of the being that we are in. So this is how we get the calendar sets the dates and the time of how we could be relative to the being we are in. So when you look at your day of living, you can kind of calculate the day of living of the being that we are in at the moment. And y'all could go to my previous videos knowing the solar system and knowing about the being that we are in, from the centaurs and the Draconian constellation and all that. But this video is about understanding Friday the 13th. But I'm just breaking y'all real deep. I'm Archangel Uriel. You see what I'm saying? So, for the most part, when we talk about the 12, we're under that hierarchy. That's the 1, 2, 3 that did it before us. We're within that. And then how we understand what level we are in within that, that's when we portray the 1 through 9. You see what I'm saying? And then those are the levels that you have to all accomplish in order to understand the totality of this being of the 12 through that aspect. And that's really just the 3. You see the 1 and the 12. That's why Roman numeral numbers is a little bit more effective than the numbers and the sigils and the signs that Americans and afterwards then came with. Those numbers is more legit in Japan and shit like that. But let's not get lost. But for the most part, that's correlating to the dying and transforming or being reborn and things of that nature. Now, pardon me. Now, when we get into 13 itself, it represents the 4 energy, right? It represents the 4 energy itself. So this is letting you know that when we talk about the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, anytime, now the 3rd dimension is your surroundings. Now the 4th dimension will be learning and gaining information about your surroundings, right? 5th dimension will be about preserving yourself in that surroundings and becoming an actual influence in that surroundings. Like you become that surroundings. And then the 6th dimension, you become the direction for that surroundings. You become the light for that surroundings. You become the leader of that surroundings. So it's almost like how you can understand the consciousness if you was a sun, if you was a planet, if you was an oversoul. You know what I'm saying? I was these things. But for the most part, well, how you break it down is when you talk about now 13 is really 4th dimension, but it's 4th dimension under the layer of the 3rd dimension because you're adding a compound number. So it's not the true number itself, so you're adding a number. So you're only adding based upon the realm of reality that you are in. So you're adding more realm of reality, more imagination and concept to the realm of reality that you're in. So when you're taking 4th dimensional consciousness but regrouping it, reshaping that energy into the 3rd dimensional aspect in order for it to be received well here, you get things like technology, computers, social media, and things of that nature, and like, you know what I'm saying, information, that mental type information that you can bring and utilize physically. So this is why instead of just you making a video that you can see for yourself, you can make a video that everybody else can see. You can even go live. You know what I'm saying? So that's actually bringing the 4th dimensional energy and bringing it down in the 3rd dimensional presence. Now the 13 energy is actually trapping people's 3rd dimensional energy. Right now, you're all naturally supposed to go to the 4th dimension. You see what I'm saying? As a spirit, as a body. And so when you see those 4th dimensional bodies and aspects, like it's no 2 people, no 2 animals, no 2 bugs, no 2 snowflakes, no 2 stars the same. So when you see these 4th dimensional bodies, this is where you're supposed to gain enough information onto your spirit. So when you die and transform, you could take one of those bodies. But when you get into the concept of the 13, this is an illusion of 4. Because we know you see the 13 makes 1 and 3, right? So it's an illusion of the 4. So it's giving you that kind of 4th dimensional energy, but bringing it down onto your level. So for the most part, people can get trapped in this realm of reality as far as spirits, and get blind into the illusion of thinking that they're still living a 4th dimensional life. You see what I'm saying? So then they get excited by things like virtual reality, or they get excited by things like transforming your consciousness into a computer, or they get excited into things like you know what I'm saying, even Google, the internet. So it goes into so many realms of realities to the point that your spiritual life goes into these shapes and forms. So whatever you're calling your spirit, or whatever you're wrapping your mind and concepts into, this is where your spirit is going to go into and experience that realm of reality as a shape and form, because you're creating that imagination by adding on to calling your spirit something physical and external. Now for the most part, when we get into because that's basically what you're doing. Now when we get into 13 also, you know what I'm saying, now this is good to add things, because add it in this realm, but for the most part we can't get lost in that. Now when we talk about Venus in general, Venus is the ruler of Friday. So now we're going to get into Friday, right? Now Friday is the so you got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you know when we get into Friday, this actually anchors in the actual week also. This is why Friday got that energy of like, man, I can't wait till it's Friday. So it's like right in between. It's before the weekend, and it's just right after you had a hard week. So you know what I'm saying? It's like right in between. And then when you talk about Friday, it's ruled by Venus. So Venus represents love, appreciation, value, relativeness, compromising, you know what I'm saying, things you want to even indulge into, that if you do it too much, it's going to create experiences to teach you that you need to do things in moderation. So for the most part, Venus is anchoring that right now. Now the reason why, now you add 13 to Friday, now it's going to have a dark attribute to it. Now here's why, because you know there's a lot of negative annotations to Venus. Now Venus is was represented as the morning star at one time, Lucifer as one time. Lucifer as a spirit then created a bunch of different shapes and forms that other spirits then jumped in afterwards and created another shape and form to mimic what this motherfucker then already did and created different names. This is why you got Venus, you got all the names that's tied to Venus going all the way back, like Aphrodite and all these types of shit and things of that, Athenia or whatever, all the motherfucking names. But this is all the other spirits that like to utilize that kind of energy and those type of shapes and forms to inhabit, to experience that realm of reality. And Lucifer did a lot of this shit first. But when we're talking about Venus in general, it gets a bad rap because look, in the space and the location that we are in, right? Venus it's called the morning star because it shine bright, but it still remains dark because this star that's closer to us is taking a lot of shine. So since it shines so bright and things of that nature, when it go away, the other stars that's further away don't give light that emit in the space that we in so much to the point that it would appear what y'all quote unquote call daytime. Y'all call daytime rising, sun mid rising, and the sun setting and all that. Y'all are completely lost into different realms, all kind of realms of realities. But you know, we're gonna break that down as Archangel Uriel throughout my videos. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, Venus is represented as darkness and shit like that because, you know, when the sun disappears and you can't access Venus through that sun or see it through that sun, you have to see it for your own self. And it takes a little harder to see it. So it's more represented with dark energy and then yin energy and the feminine energy and things of that nature. So, you know, it'll play out through the dark attributes of the things that you love and appreciate and value. So even when you look at movies like Jason, Friday the 13th and shit like that, any movie that got something to do with the sigil of 13 or Friday into it in some way, shape, or form is going to have something to do with you, something that you love and appreciate. Something that you love and appreciate turn it back on you. So some shape and form that you love and appreciate is going to turn its back on you or mess up your circumstance or situation, and you're going to find yourself needing or wanting revenge from the thing that you have loved and appreciated, and if that turned it back, it turned its back on you. So it goes deep into the Venus energy, loving and appreciating and valuing it, right? But since Venus is further away, we see Venus better in the dark time. So Venus don't create daytime to us because it's not close to us like this sun or the moon and shit like that to create a daytime effect. So that light is further up there. So it's almost like Venus represents love, appreciation, value, relatedness, and compromising. And then that actual star, the manifestation of that star is in a space vortex and in the dark. Then it's almost like it plays out into things that you love and appreciate. You can't see it though. The things that you value and things that you willing to compromise with, you don't see it. You know what I'm saying? So that gives you the sense of feeling like I would really love to have that, or I would really appreciate that. So then this is where you even get that energy from, appreciate everything that you get, or not having love, and then when you get it, you feel actually good now. You know what I'm saying? This is where that actually come from, because Venus is a little further away from this space than this sun actually is. So it's a bunch of different tricks and games that they have going on that I be wrestling with them with and shit like that when I be astral traveling. But for the most part, you know, it's just getting you down to try to really break down to why all sciences, all rituals, all spells, all religions got this idea, or all superstitions got this idea about Friday the 13th. I'm breaking down the actual energy of why it can even be played out through multitude of people perceptions in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So so when you talk about Venus itself, now it rules Friday. So Friday, this is why people plan to do things that they value or things that they want to indulge into on Fridays. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that sense of what you love and appreciate not being seen on a day-to-day basis, not being seen on your maze, on your days, the light that the sun puts you in the days and make you consciously aware of what you think you need to do in the day and shit in the maze. You know what I'm saying? And make you a rat searching for cheese in the maze. That's why cheese is yellow. Hey, the sun be on some other shit, dog. Hey, the sun be on some other shit. Be on this motherfucking Pac-Man shit. Sun think I don't know that shit though. The sun think I don't know that shit. Be on this motherfucking Pac-Man shit. But you know, for the most part, it be eating y'all motherfuckers up. But when you talk about Venus, that's why it represents all that. So this is why you even hear things like even Black Friday. Black Friday is this mimicking Friday the 13th. And this is what spirits down here utilize to kind of, they utilize the same energy to get y'all access. But it's really like a helpful energy. Like I said, this is all free energy. It don't matter what other spirit came and named it what they named it, because they was vibrating high and everybody choose to follow that way and that concept of how you celebrate that energy for that space and time. Like I said, all days, dates, whatever, this is just different spaces and locations we are in at the moment. So it's always going to be some superb energy going on when we're traveling through these spaces at the moment, which y'all quote unquote call days or holidays. When we travel through that space, as all of us, it's always going to be some enormous energy here. That's why it's important for you to celebrate or create your own energy for that day. You could be in the spirit just like everybody else, but in your mind, you celebrating your shit. You know what I'm saying? And then who's to say that your shit don't start being the hardest shit ever? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's some real shit. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, Friday the 13th, you know, like I said, the 13 energy is just taking fourth dimensional energies and bringing it down in this 3 geometric system that we're wrapped up in as triangle beings, because you are a spirit in a triangle like body. So this is why you are a phi, and this is why you look like a triangle, and you're not a square like being, like it's something that's walking like an animal, or like you can kind of tell evolutionary scales on a bunch of different levels. So like, y'all can go to my videos and watch those. But for the most part, yeah, watch my video about the triangle being. You know what I'm saying? Just type in triangle in my videos and I break that down. How you could understand why you even have the consciousness of why you could train a pet, but a pet can't train you within the physical vessel that you are in at the moment. You see what I'm saying? Now break it down Friday the 13th. Like I said, like Black Friday and shit like that, they just mimic that because they're able to take the higher realm energies of love in it, like the fourth dimensional energies, because that's using 13, then Friday, so that's using Venus, then using the fourth dimensional aspect of Venus, so that's using how the way Venus was born through the 4, 5, and 6 dimension. And then once Venus became a sun-like, a star-like, and was to live out in a bigger way how we're living out, just on a larger level, you're able to access the energy of that space when you put the 13 in front of it. And then once you do it on Friday, you're channeling that space energy. We're actually traveling through the space of the day that we're traveling through the space that Venus was birthed through, and the space that Venus ruled, because Venus was in that space first. You know what I'm saying? And then for the most part, 13 and Friday, you're able to take the things that you love and appreciate and value, and able to will it into this existence a lot faster. So Friday the 13th, that's why you got all the things that you pleasure at a cheaper rate, at a lower rate. So keep that word in mind, at a lower rate. You're getting things that you love and appreciate and value, or things that you indulge in at a lower, or things that you're willing to compromise with at a lower rate. So think about Black Friday, right? You like, man, I want to go get a PS4 or something like that. I want to go get a computer. It's going to be cheap on Black Friday, right? So that thing that you want, you value, that you willing to indulge into, is going to be what? At a lower rate on Black Friday. So this is how they mimic the Black Friday energy, right? Because they took the higher Venus nature, which is the things that you love and appreciate and value, but they took the information from the higher nature, right, and dropped it down to a lower rate. Because where are you? You are in a lower realm. You are lower down. So once you get dropped down, it's going to play out in that energy signature in some way, shape, or form. You see what I'm saying? So you can go out, and we got a fucking day called Black Friday. We can go out and get something that you indulge into and willing to spend some money on at a lower rate. Motherfucker, you think this shit come out of nowhere? Everything come from somewhere. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, this is why Friday the 13th in general is represented as evil, and things of that nature, because it's dark. And, you know, if you are a very superstitious person, then you're going to correlate all negative things to the dark. You know what I'm saying? And also, when we talk about why it could be good to do spells, or it could be good to do rituals and things on Friday the 13th, because you're going to be able to experience whatever ritual, whatever spell, or whatever you're trying to manifest. You're going to be able to experience that at a lower rate. It's going to drop down a lower rate. You ain't going to have to put as much energy work into it that you do on a regular day-to-day basis than you would have to do on a Friday the 13th day. You see what I'm saying? Your energy work could be even at a lower rate. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to understand Lord's Venus, all that shit. Understand concepts and understand how you emitting light and how you attracting light. Therefore, you don't have to be overtaken and overwhelmed by some other spiritual motherfuckers who done created holidays and dates and created other concepts that you give your energy to just by paying attention to it, how they think what Friday the 13th is, and you can utilize for Friday the 13th for what the fuck you here to use Friday the 13th for, because it's all here for us to use that goddamn shit. You see what I'm saying? You see how this shit be so goddamn simple? Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air. Take the spookism out of goddamn